It is 7:05 on the 18th of November, if you can believe that. First item up for business this evening is we do have to report out on a closed session item. Item, let's see, item 4.3. It's a student discipline and confidential matter regarding student matter number 22-004. The board considered and moves to approve the panel's recommendation for suspended expulsion for the 2021-2022 school year as amended. Do I have a first?
I'll second that.
Oh, did I just do the first?
You just read the
Okay.
motion.
Okay, second it, thank you. And we can do a roll call vote, please.
President Zeta,
Yes.
Trustee Moss, Trustee Ferrucci,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli, and
Yes.
Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And we're going to go ahead and move on down to let's see. This meeting, just to let you guys know, this meeting is being recorded for live streaming and archiving on the district YouTube channel. Next up is our pledge. Would you ladies both like to stand up and do the pledge with us? Like, there you go. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Item number 7. Can I get an approval of the agenda as written?
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
Can
I second it.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
President Zeta,
Yes.
Trustee Moss, Trustee Ferrucci,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is our highlight for this evening. Did you want to
Sure.
this up? Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Ms. Stephanie Rice, to the podium, and she's going to welcome and recognize some of our wonderful students and a colleague who she will introduce as well. Brenda Strassner, one of our wonderful teachers, and we'll be recognizing some of our students who've reached a really wonderful milestone. So welcome.
Thank you.
Are you on?
Are we on? Yes. Just talk closer. Good evening, board. Good evening, community. Right here. I'm excited to be here tonight with Brenda Strassner. As Dr. Young said, she is an elementary teacher at Matthew Turner, but she's also our EL coordinator. And we have the privilege tonight to first and foremost be here to celebrate our BUSD scholars that have what the state of California deems as being reclassified fluent English proficient. And in our district, we also want to highlight that that means that they are working on or are bilingual or multilingual. So it's okay. We'll go with it. So the highlight is to celebrate these students. But before I bring them up here, we just wanted to give some background of the work that they've done to get here and how you're classified as an English learner for the start in our district. Also, the guidelines to becoming reclassified. And then also to share with you and the community the opportunity that our students have to work towards getting the seal of biliteracy on their diploma. So to start us off, I'm going to invite Ms. Strassner up, and she's going to share with you how students become first classified as English proficient in our district, because that's the first step, and then we'll move into their proficiency.
So in the state of California and in our district, the way that students are deemed to be students that are English learners is from our enrollment form. Each student, when they enroll a child in school, is given an enrollment form. And if a student has a language other than English spoken at home, they are also given a document called a home language survey. So that is deemed by the state of California that if there is a language other than English spoken at home, that we do assess students with an assessment, which is the initial ELPAC, to see if students are in need of support, so we can provide language support to students' families. Let me take a breath. So much easier to talk to kids during the day, so thank you. If a student does not score as fluent on that English assessment, we do provide supports and services in our district for students in the classroom and with families. And then each spring we give a summative ELPAC assessment for students to just monitor their growth and see if they're ready to graduate out and exit out of our English learner program. Next slide, thank you. And so the state of California sets our requirements, our criteria for the things that need to be in place for a student to be considered reclassified as English proficient. And they are required to receive a score of 4 on the English language proficiency, assessment, which is very rigorous. It does have 4 domains. They're tested in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. We also gather teacher reflection. We look at their grades, their overall performance, their yearly testing. If we have SBAC, if we don't, alternative testing, and we consult with parents if all of those pieces are in line. I'm going to pass it back to you.
So the students that we're going to recognize here today have accomplished all of that. And by accomplishing that, when they're in high school and they are a senior, the first step is to be reclassified, which they are. And then if the students maintain a 2.0 or higher in their English language arts requirements for graduation, then they've met a requirement. They need to have met or proficient on the SBAC, our state assessment, or if we did not have that assessment, like last year, it would be an assessment comparable to that. And then if they've met those requirements, we offer them the opportunity to decide whether or not they want to take an assessment in their primary language, in which they are assessed in reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And if they're proficient in that language, then they get to have the distinguished seal. It's a gold seal on their diploma to signify their accomplishment and the strength of being bi or multilingual. So you have that opportunity if you're here to be honored today. So without further ado, the celebration time. We have invited our students that were reclassified to come with their families. And I would like to ask Dr. Young to come up. If you can stand in the middle there, Dr. Young, that will signify where the students need to go. We do have some administrators with us here from secondary. So when I call your site, come on up. Our elementary principals were unable to be here, but you still will have Dr. Young, Ms. Streisner, who is a first grade teacher, and I'm a former elementary teacher, so we will honor you. Parents, if you want to choose to take a picture of them while they're up here, please feel free. We will not shake hands to honor and respect COVID, but if you want to give an elbow bump, absolutely, and a big smile, because we are very proud of your accomplishments and want to honor you. So if I can have Miss Kimberly Lewis come on up, we'll start with LHS. And I'm not sure. All right, so if you would like to, right in the middle here.
And I'm going to say this first. Names are so important, and I tell my kids in the classroom too that I'm going to do my very best job of pronouncing your name. And if I mispronounce it, please tell me, because I do want to pronounce it correctly. Names are so important. Right. Okay, so yeah. So for Liberty High School, we have Adanelli Torres Gonzalez. She's not here with us tonight, but we would like to. Yes.
All right, let's go with DHS.
Yep. For Benicia High School, we have Jacqueline Esparza. David Urrutia Abrego. David. Stella Urzeda Nunes. And Alejandra Jackson.
All right, so we will move on to Benicia Middle School.
We have Brendan Cortez. Camila Galindo. I'm trying my best here. Primrata Jedawararat. Estuardo Lopez Gomez. Yay!
Thank you.
And Katerina Rodionov.
All right. So we will move to Joe Henderson.
Hannah Xiao. Bryce Christensen. Abril Onate Morales. And Yiwei Su. Matthew Turner. Elena Hoffman. Gurbani Malhi. You have a picture coming your way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Maximiliano Marin. Giada Rosenthal. And Kirpa Sandhu. And for Robert Semple, we have Jaden too. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and to the parents and students that are here that just got this honor. You're welcome to take your kids and head back home. I know it's a school night, and we understand, but congratulations from all of us on the board. What a wonderful thing that you guys are able to do. Thank you so much. Okay, then we're going to move on to our reports. First up is our student reports. Alice Wells, would you like to share? Alice is from Liberty High School.
Hi, and good evening, everybody. Like President Zeta said, I'm Alice Wells, and I represent Liberty. I'd just like to say good evening to everyone as well. So currently, Liberty is having a food drive, and we've partnered with Solana Food Bank, and our barrel is filling up quickly. If anyone would like to drop off any non-perishable or canned foods, we would gladly take your donation. Our garden club has been working hard on many projects inside and outside our greenhouse. We want to thank Miss Mo for all her support in making this program a success. I don't think they're happy with me for feeding the cat that lives in the garden. This week we completed our thankful tree, and students have added leaves of gratitude. Many students said they were thankful for their families, friends, teachers, and a happy life. Lastly, we want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and a safe and restful break. Thank you and have a good evening.
All right, and now, are we Allie or Marie? Allie Ballinger from Benicia High School. Thank you.
Hello, thank you guys for having me. Like she said, I'm Allie Ballinger from Benicia High School. Last week, we had a Veterans Day ceremony to honor all of our Benicia Unified School District veterans and thank them for their service. This week, we're currently in intramural volleyball, which is taking place during lunch in the gym, and students are competing against other teams. They just formed teams on their own, and they've been playing all week. Championship game is actually tomorrow. We have also started our winter sports, and they are in session as of a few weeks ago. And our football team is in the semifinals for playoffs on Friday, hoping they advance and go to the championship. And that is all our old, new, and current business. Thank you guys very much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you to both schools and for letting us know what's going on. We sure appreciate it. We're going to move on to Superintendent's report. Dr. Young.
Very good. Thank you. Good evening, board, and everybody who's joining us tonight. Just a couple of quick things from me. I did want to point out this article in the Benicia Herald. I thought it was great. It's about one of our students, and I'll get the name as close as I can, Isabel Streiches. Former student. She graduated from Benicia High School in 2013. And what's so cool about this is that she wrote a novel. It's called Starling. And it's about, it's so neat if you read this article, and if you can Google it, I think you can buy this book. She talks about growing up in Benicia and being in a small town, and those kind of spurred those reflections that she had that led to this book. So I was so impressed by that. One of the things she said in the article was that Benicia, having this focus around the arts and how that did influence her as she grew up. So it was really wonderful. Just wanted to point that out. Great job, teachers. She was in your class at some point. Another quick thing from me. It's one of my favorite times of year in Thanksgiving, and that we take a moment to be filled with gratitude and thankfulness with our families and all the gifts in our life. And just quickly, we had a management meeting yesterday, and I had everybody sort of reflect on that a little bit. And one of the things that they shared, I thought it was so interesting. They were very simple things, like I'm so grateful for my home. One person said, I'm thankful for my warm bed. I'm thankful for my job and the people that I work with. I'm thankful for my health. So it was really beautiful for me as a superintendent to listen to folks talk about those essential things in our life that sometimes we take for granted, but we take this time of year to pause and think how important they are to us. Really wonderful to hear. So from the superintendent and on behalf of the board, just want to thank all of the teachers and all the staff in the district and the very strong partnership with our parents as we get to come together on behalf of our kids. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. We have board reports from our board members. Do any of my colleagues have anything to share? I know it's been a little bit slow lately. No? All right. Well, then we're just going to move on out of that, and we're going to go to comments from members of the public. BUSD has moved to in-person board meetings. We ask that members of the public who wish to attend, including those who wish to address the board, wear a mask at all times. All functions of the board meeting, including public comments, will take place in person. Members of the public may address the board at a regular meeting on any item within the board's jurisdiction. Speaker cards are available at the back table. Please note the item you wish to speak to and submit a card to the board secretary. The board president will call an open session public comment not on the agenda during the public comment item. Comments for items on the agenda will be called during a specific item. Comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, or the board may limit the total time to 20 minutes per item. By law, no action may be taken on any item raised during the public comment period, and matters may be referred to staff for placement on a future agenda of the governing board. Please be reminded to keep your comments respectful, as students may be watching the board meeting. Thank you. And I do have one speaker, Mr. Miller, if you'd like to come on up.
Hi, you guys. Andrew Miller, parent of 2 students in the Benicia Unified School District. Thanks for getting back to my questions. I didn't have much time to go over your answers. But the one that did catch my eye was when I asked you what your definition of CRT was, you gave me the generic answer of the university level class. And that's not what I'm talking about when I'm up here, and that's why I sent it to you guys. And the reason I say that is because of the ELPAC. You know that I'm a big fan of ELPAC. That's not at all their definition of critical race theory, and that's why I gave you this handout a couple of times ago, so you can see what they're using it as and how they define it. And I really don't like that. And in my searching around, I found another company that does, I believe, exactly what you're looking for without using the critical race theory divisiveness that ELPAC does. And I'll just read to you real quick what Dr. Carol Swain, who's the owner or whatever, the operator of this particular Unity Training Solutions. Unity Training Solutions brings together diverse people who seek harmony and are willing to commit themselves to work on common goals and common visions for their institutions. Traditional American principles and old-fashioned common sense would suggest we can achieve greater harmony and success in institutions by respecting everyone's civil rights and equality under the law. We can accomplish this by rediscovering and re-embracing our nation's motto, E pluribus unum, out of many one. I believe most Americans hold a vision of diversity and inclusion that recognizes and appreciates the individuality each person brings to the environment. Justice and fairness can be obtained while respecting free speech and transparency. Indeed, the citizens of our nation share more similarities than differences. The goal of diversity training should be to help diverse people work together and respect each other without bringing unnecessary drama and distractions to workplaces and learning environments. And that's something that she wrote. But anyway, I thought I'd like to share that with you because, like I said, I'm not a fan of ELPAC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Turn it back on. Okay, we're at item number 11, consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the board to be routine and will be approved by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion on these items unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be pulled and discussed. So do I have a motion to accept the consent calendar as written?
I'll move to accept the consent calendar as written.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And can we get a roll call, please? Oh, I'm sorry. No problem. And roll call, please.
President Seda,
Yes.
Trustee Moss, Trustee Ferrucci, Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Grimes. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 12, communication and informational items. First up, item 12.1 is our At Promise youth. And did you want to ask?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to welcome Principal Kimberly Lewis, our great principal over at Liberty High School, who's involved in some really interesting work there at Liberty. She's going to be making a presentation through video at a well-known conference, and we thought it would be wonderful for her to share the essence of that presentation and the work that's being reflected at Liberty High School, which we're very proud of. So welcome, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you very much. Good evening, President Zeta, Superintendent Dr. Young, fellow board members. I have the privilege and honor of being a part of the RAPSA Forum. For those that don't know, RAPSA is Reaching at Promise Student Association. The forum is a nationwide conference being held virtually this year. Normally it's in San Diego, but now it's virtual, it's okay. It's where educators and policymakers from across the country come together with an ongoing pursuit and advocacy for at promise, no longer at risk, at promise youth. Tomorrow I am presenting in the strand of stories from the field, and I'm going to be talking about our journey of bringing Learning Through Interest program to Liberty High School. I'm going to talk about the genesis of this program. When I was first hired, I had the opportunity to sit down with my staff, and we had really deep conversations, and I asked them, what is Liberty? What do you stand for? What are some great things, and what are some of the challenges? And the teachers were honest. And I asked them if they can improve, even if it's making systemic changes, what would it be? And they came back with a question. They asked themselves, and it's really honest, are we setting our students up for success once they reach their high school diploma? And so partnering with businesses and industries, organizations, Liberty High School launched its Big Picture Learning Program in the spring of 2018 and 19. I'm going to talk about how we had small steps for big gains. And so our first year goal with any new program was by the second semester, we'd have 5 kids. We had 11. We thought we hit the moon. And then, okay, second year, maybe we can increase that by 25%, maybe 15 kids. By March 1st, 2020, we had 26 students enrolled in internships across this community. That's 38% of our student population at the time. Then COVID hit. And this is actually a quote, an excerpt from Solano County of Ed, March 26th. It's kind of like D-Day for in education of 2020. It says, Solano Educational Office of Education, Solano Ed has advised public school districts and charter schools to continue distance learning through at least May 1st. Little did we know that was going to be a full year. Trying to figure out what is distance learning. How do we make sure that all kids have Chromebooks? What on earth, how do we get the teachers on a platform called Google Classroom? And good grief, what the heck is Zoom? And I'm always on mute. So with all this chaos and all this kind of make sure that the kids are okay and are we moving forward, our superintendent told us to take a step back, take a pause, and he challenged us for a charge for innovation. And this is from Dr. Young. While the pandemic created considerable changes for society as a whole, and certainly school districts in general, it also created a kind of opportunity. Reflecting on the elements of organizational change and change theory, it dawned on us that our system was, in essence, unfrozen. And we really reflected on these questions that he posed. Why do we do the things the way we do? What if we did them differently? And how would we go about making and sustaining any changes? We took that to heart at Liberty. So for the next year, during this distance learning and making sure that our kids are okay, we talked to parents, alumni, students, community members, and we came up with an innovation plan. And it's a work in progress. It's our hopes and dreams of what we want to do. But in its core, in its essence, it's founded in equity, engagement, and imagination. So during that time and during this process of creating this innovation plan, I asked the teachers to go back to the beginning again. And it wasn't just a one and done. This Padlet is like, if you've ever been on Padlet, it just goes for days and days and days. And so we asked again, what's Liberty's purpose? What do you want Liberty to be? If there were no barriers, what would your ideal school include? And what did we value? And like I said, the strands just go for days and days. I asked my teachers to go on virtual learning walks. Each teacher was assigned different platforms of alternative learning, from outdoor ed, schools about entrepreneurship, virtual learning, and even EL, which is exploratory learning. And once again, the teachers put stuff up and we talked about what can we put into our plan and pick apart all these great ideas. But one of the biggest things that came out of it is a shift in mindset. In the beginning, we thought that if kids were learning through interest, they had to have an internship. That's not true. And we learned that we had to pivot during COVID. So kids started creating their own projects at home. They were submitting pictures and videos and talking to us through Zoom about all these great ideas. Some kids were working at a farm. Some students got into photography, cars. One student has an e-commerce business online, which works. I bought some makeup from her. It was fantastic. But this whole idea of the shift in mindset, that all kids are learning through interest. And that's the equity piece and the access that we wanted to get to. I'm going to also talk about that time when we had to think about returning back to in-person. And while we knew that the academics were going to come, however, it was essential to address the overall mental health of our students and staff before any learning could happen. So working with SCO, working with our mental health, at the time, Jessica Garcia and Student Services, we created a wellness plan for reentry. And then we were ready for the relaunch. But things we knew couldn't be the same. So we really wanted to talk about a need to create a culture of trust. Some of these students I haven't physically seen in over a year and a half. And to convince them, yes, you really can be the driver of your education. And so we're working on that trust now. We re-examined our advisory period. We're creating a blend of project-based learning that's on and off campuses. And most importantly, we want to make sure that our students know that they're safe. So this is an example I'm going to talk about tomorrow in my in the conference. This is one of my 12th graders. I am learning more about cars this year than I ever wanted to know. So one of his projects right now is, he's got two. One is this, I'd rather know more about the 68 Camaro, my personal choice. But this is his everyday car. So this is something that he's always working on. So part of his project is rebuilding and maintaining his vehicle. He talks about the importance of it, the parts, how much they cost. He talks about how he teaches his mom and the importance of gender equality within the whole being a mechanic field. I walk up and down the hallways with this 12th grader and he tells me things and he uses words I'm really trying to understand, but I'm really learning about a clutch master cylinder. So we've taken this idea 3-4 years ago, launched it, COVID hit, revamping it. And the things that I'm going to talk about in the conference tomorrow is recognize that we need to give ourselves grace and recovery time. I felt like we were on a projection and I felt like, how do we get back up there? But it's okay to slow down a little bit. Re-examine how we unpack project-based learning. Want to do more student-led learning walks, expand opportunities for students to create their own projects, and continue to lead with love. So tomorrow, right around 11 o'clock, wherever you are, set a timer on your phone and send me some good thoughts because I'm going to be representing Benicia Unified School District and especially my students. No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
we've seen it get better and better as you know, with all the kids getting involved, more and more
Mhm.
kids, and word of mouth goes to the other kids, and then they want to be part of that too. So I think it's a great program, and you guys have done a great job, and best of luck tomorrow as you present at your online conference.
I appreciate it. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
And I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to say thank you. I'm so glad that you're there. I appreciate your passion, your perspective. Your student voice is so important. I am absolutely grateful that you're there. So
Thank
you're
you.
doing amazing things, and we do appreciate you.
Bravo.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, next item up is Dr. Beetson, Educators Effectiveness Grant. You're up.
Good evening, everyone. Good to be here. Thank you for having me. I am here tonight to talk with you about the Educator Effectiveness Grant. And so this is a new grant this year that we have received. And so what I wanted to do this evening is share with you the requirements of this grant, because it does come with specific requirements. Talk about our 4-year plan in terms of rolling out this grant in conjunction with other one-time funds that have come from the state and the federal government, and then understand the alignment between all of that and our strategic plan and LCAP. The next 2 slides are just something I always put up here because it's important for us to remember that all the work that we do is always grounded in our district's vision and mission, which is where all students achieve at their highest potential in an engaging, inspiring, and challenging learning environment. And then below there, in that really tiny font up there, are the beliefs of what we believe about education and our students, and then the characteristics of a Benicia graduate. And just a quick reminder, just trying to set the stage for when I explain more about the grant in particular, that so if we have our district's vision and mission as our foundation, the next layer is our strategic plan, which is how do we take that and put it to life? And inside of that plan, which is our LCAP, we have 4 goals, if you remember, a goal around social emotional learning, talking about students feeling a sense of belonging and feeling valued and heard. 2 academic goals, the first one around literacy and humanities, and that one really has to do with getting all students reading on grade level, and we've expanded it from by 3rd grade to staying at grade level throughout their time here with us. The next goal is math and STEAM, and that again is having students really master those essential math skills and strategies and standards, and then being able to apply them and be supported in them in other related content areas in the STEAM field. And then finally, we added our equity and opportunity goal, which had those 2 parts, one around our underrepresented students having access to and inclusion in all things that we offer here. And then the second part really about feeling seen and heard and valued in all that they do with us. And so that brings me to a new grant. We received word on, I gotta make this bigger, on October 21st, that we were going to receive $906,574 from the state for educator effectiveness. We needed to share our plan at a public meeting, so that's what I'm doing here with you tonight, and I will bring it back to you at our next meeting because it does need to be adopted by December 30th. So it didn't give us a whole lot of turnaround time because we just received that funding or the notice of that funding in late October. But we do have until the 25-26 school year to spend those funds. And so grant requirements. So there are many buckets, if you want to think of it that way, that this money can be spent. And it is really supporting all staff and supporting students. And so here are the next 2 slides really just outline what those grant requirements. It can be used for coaching and mentoring, for standards aligned instruction, especially to improve literacy, Re-engagement of students, and so how do we help accelerate students who have perhaps fallen behind? Improving pupil well-being, and so that is the SEL mental health support there. Positive school climate, inclusive practices for students with exceptional needs. This slide continues. So we heard from Ms. Rice tonight, effective language acquisition, so really supporting our EL students, professional learning network, so providing opportunities for staff to get together to learn together. Ethnic studies curriculum, that'll be a presentation I will do later this year about the new mandate for rolling in an ethnic studies program. We're already there, we have it to offer, but it will need to be a graduation requirement in 2029, I believe, so I have to check that date. So we could use the funding to help support and develop that. And then early childhood education, that will be, I've already talked with you a little bit about universal TK, and so some of that funding. So many of those buckets keep coming up in all the different grant funding that I've been talking about since last spring that we've gotten, so more support in all of those areas. And so what I did was I took a look at our LCAP, because we did a very thorough, robust job of looking at our data, identifying our goal areas, identifying actions and staffing and strategies to support those areas, knowing that a lot of that was supported with one-time funding. If you remember, many of those new positions that touch students and the classroom and teachers are one-time in nature. And so we've been fortunate to be able to get additional grant funding that's come through. So we started looking at how can we thoughtfully and deliberately, instead of layering them this way, start to plan outward so that we can keep many of these items going into the future and simultaneously do that work to extend those actions and services. And so things that fit from our LCAP into those buckets that I just shared with you for this grant came up with several items that we can use this funding for in outer years to keep going. So one is around coaching and mentoring. So one of the things that we do here in Benicia Unified School District is we pay for the induction program, used to be known as BITSA, for our new teachers, which is, from what I understand from my colleague, Dr. Gill, one of the big questions that comes when we do interviews with new teachers is that a support that we offer? And we've been able to do that with one-time funding. This allows us to continue to do that into the future. We also wanted we have some interns in our system, and they require mentors. And those are teachers that are in the intern program from their college, and we've been lucky to hire them on, but they get a mentor. And so continuing that teacher support there. Another piece would be to support and continue to support our staffing for our elementary intervention program, for all of those intervention tutors that we've hired that were one time. They're having a great impact. We have some funding that we can continue that with that literacy focus there. And then also using some of this funding to continue what we call content collaboration days for teachers. And so that has been in the LCAP again, and that provides funding for grade levels or departments to get together. We pay for subs for them, or some departments have chosen to get paid on a time card after hours so that they don't have to take a sub day, where they can work on looking at data, planning lessons, all the work that we also need to have time for. And so this funding can help continue that. So these are not new strategies. They've been paid with one-time funding, but this grant will allow us to extend these into outer years. You also have a copy linked in your agenda of the grant itself. And so then this last slide just shows you where they would tuck under the different goals in the LCAP. And so you can see they primarily fit in our academic goals, goals 2 and 3. And then the last column on this slide talks about we've received or will be receiving 9 grants since last spring. And it's wonderful. I do want to just point out that it's really kind of going back to categorical funding and I think you guys all know about that, right? So all of these grants come with very specific, it can be used for these types of actions and services for these populations of students. And one of the things that I'm working very closely with our business office right now on is doing just what I was describing. So we have our list of actions and services in the LCAP, which, like I said, we know that to do anything new, it's really hard to evaluate its effectiveness in 3 or 4 months and decide, do we want to continue this, right? And so we spent a long time really coming up with what we thought are some great things. This will allow us to do them for longer so we can truly evaluate the effectiveness. So what we're doing with all of these different grants right now is sort of doing almost a 5 or 6 year plan out to the 25-26 school year when all of these right now will sunshine. We'll see what else continues to come. And just plugging in, okay, we can continue this with this funding. So even some of the actions and services that we have in the LCAP now that are paid from, if you remember, we called it the ELO, the Expanded Learning and Opportunity Grant that we got last spring, and the IPI, the In-Person Instruction Grant, which funded almost everything in the LCAP. We are not going to spend it all because we couldn't hire a position or someone got hired late. So there's going to be some pockets left. Now peeling that off, plugging those into outer years so that we can continue all of that. So we're doing that. And simultaneously, I've been working with our LCAPitans, which is our BTA leadership and our parent advisory group, to really identify, so every goal in the LCAP, as you know, has big metrics underneath it, and those are dictated primarily by the state. But then we spent our last meeting looking at every single action in the LCAP and identifying 1 or 2 small data points so that we can measure the effectiveness. And we had great conversation around how do we know if X is really effective? And so we've identified those as well, knowing that, again, it will take a couple of years to really see. I mean, I think they actually say 3 to 5 years to see impact of actions and services. And so the good thing is, and I'll bring this back another time, is to see, we hired 5 new teachers at the elementary school to lower class size. We added sections at the high school to do the same in key content areas. Now, we haven't always been able to find the exact, especially at the secondary, the exact credentials, but we've been able to do that in some areas. Adding more classified staff, helping out with noon duty supervision at the elementary school. So counselors, mental health clinicians, all of those positions, we can simultaneously look at how we can continue them in outer years using these grant funds creatively, and then also look at the impact by having real clear data points. And so I'll be able to bring that back to you as well. So this was the informational piece about this educator effectiveness grant and how it would tuck right and nest right into the work we've already identified. And then I'll bring that back at our next meeting for approval. Any questions?
Any questions?
There's a lot of them.
Yeah,
I had a big chart because I started to completely get mixed up on which one was due when and what could be spent on.
Any questions?
No, I think you guys are doing
We like
a
money.
great job tying it
Having
together.
money to be able to do good stuff. So
And just doing it in a way so that you're not, like I felt feeling like it was stepping on each other. If I had known that money was coming, I wouldn't have put that action in the last grant. So really trying to map it out in a thoughtful way so we get our best bang for our buck.
that must be hard, to figure out. But I like how you were talking about lengthening it out rather than just dumping it all into one space and using it that 1 year or 2 years. So I like that. Great job. Thank you. All right. Our next item up is our last item, actually. It's our non-consent action item 13.1, consideration and approval of the early notification retirement incentive. And Dr. Gill, would you like to share with us?
Yes, good evening, Madam President, trustees, Dr. Young, and community members. So this is an annual item we bring at this meeting where we are asking or sharing information with our potential retirees. And this is an incentive for anybody who would like to retire at the end of the school year on June 3rd, 2022, that if they submit their intent to retire, which is irrevocable, to us by Friday, January 14, 2022, they will receive a $1,500 bonus. It will be prorated for part-time employees. So we will be, if you approve this, then we will be sending this information to the employees tomorrow.
Okay.
I have a
Anybody?
question before we move. Do you mind? That part. So I was reading an article that came out through AXA, and it was talking about, it was from CTC, and they were talking about the need for districts to have subs, which we often talk about and we often hear about. And what they were saying is if a district doesn't give an incentive or a bonus to retire, and please correct me if I got it wrong, that then those teachers that do retire are eligible to come back to work sooner if they choose to be a sub. So
So I think, I'm not sure if they're talking about the golden shake hand, anything like that. The purpose of this is just for us to identify positions earlier, so that we are not waiting until May or June to find out who's retiring.
no, I know what the purpose is, and I understand it, and I'm always really in favor of it. But what they were questioning was that by not doing that, like Cece just retired, she would have been able to come in and say, I want to sub in September, and she would have been able to do it if there is an incentive or a bonus. So I'm just asking if that's something new. Maybe it totally doesn't apply.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with anything like that. My understanding is an employee cannot sub for 6 months.
Right.
Until after they retire. But if there is something new, we would love to find out.
Well, and that was kind of the way I read it because of the shortages. So maybe I guess what I'm recommending is, could you double check and just see if in fact that is valid or not? Because
definitely,
since we're all running short on subs, maybe it might be an incentive, and then we could invite them to come back in August.
Nice.
Here's your retirement, and here's your new employment.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's you know.
I know it's
Unless something got changed in the law recently, I mean, there's a possibility all these changes are happening. Definitely, yes.
Yeah, I read it in the AXA newsletter
Sure.
that we get, and it
Sure.
just came in this week. So
That's a
I
very
thought
interesting point.
I was going to share that with you, and I forgot before, but then I saw the agenda, and I thought, well, I'll wait.
Yeah.
Definitely, we'll check. Thank you. Thank you.
Circle back to us if you
We
find
will.
anything else out about that.
We will.
Thank you so much for bringing that up to us, to our attention. Also, Diane, I appreciate that. Let's see, where are we? Okay, so do I have a motion?
I move to approve the retirement incentive.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Can we please get a roll call? Yes.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you're all so excited because you get to go home now. It's the end of the meeting, right? We didn't bore you to death, so that's all good. I am, always pleased to have you here with us, and all of you out online watching. We appreciate it, the input and just being present. Again, our next meeting is going to be December 9th. It's our only December meeting. So mark your calendars, and please, please, please enjoy your holiday. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody from all of us, to all of you guys. So we will see you guys on the 9th. Be safe. Bye-bye.